$50,000. I made it in 14 months, in the hours between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. on weeknights, and on Saturday mornings before my family woke up. I never quit my job. I never maxed out a credit card, and I didn't sell a single course about how to make money, because that's the part nobody talks about. The side hustle industry has gotten very good at monetizing your desperation. They sell you the dream of escape while keeping you dependent on their next program. What I'm about to share is the actual unsexy, unglamorous system that worked. And if you've got a skill and 4 hours a week, it can work for you too. Here's where most people go wrong before they even start. They open YouTube, they search Side Hustles 2024, and within 20 minutes, they're convinced they need to start a faceless channel, flip furniture, or launch a Shopify store. And 3 weeks later, nothing's happened. Not because those things don't work, some of them do, but because they picked the thing that sounded exciting instead of the thing they could actually do without learning from scratch. The fastest path to income is through what you already know. Full stop. So the first move I made was an audit. Not a passion audit. I couldn't care less what lights me up at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday when I'm exhausted. I did a skills audit. What can I do that takes someone else significant time or money to figure out? I sat with that question for 3 days. I wrote down everything. Turns out I had a background in operations management. I knew how to build systems, write SOPs, clean up messy workflows. Small business owners were drowning in exactly that problem. I didn't invent anything. I just noticed a gap between what I knew and what other people needed. Now here's the decision that separated me from the people who try this and quit. I got specific. I didn't market myself as a business consultant. I positioned myself as someone who helps e-commerce brands under 10 employees build their operations infrastructure so they stop losing orders and burning out their staff. That sentence sounds narrow. It is narrow. And that's exactly why it worked. When you're a generalist, you're competing with everyone. When you're a specialist, you're the only option for a specific kind of pain. Clients aren't looking for someone good at everything. They're looking for someone who understands their specific problem better than they do. But I almost killed the whole thing before it started by making a classic mistake. I charged too little. My first client, a woman named Priya who ran a small wholesale gift company, paid me $400 for what ended up being 30 hours of work. I told myself it was fine. It was experience. It was a testimonial. And it was. But it also set a precedent in my own mind that my work was worth about $13 an hour. It took a blunt conversation with a mentor 8 months in to shake that loose. He looked at my rate and said, "You're not too expensive. You've just never seen someone pay you what you're worth." I doubled my rate the next week. I didn't lose a single client. So let's talk about the operational side. Because you've got a job, you've got a life, and you cannot let one bleed into the other, or both collapse. I built what I called my margin schedule. Everything client-related happened in defined windows. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. Saturday, 7 a.m. to noon. That was it. Non-negotiable. I didn't answer emails at 2 p.m. I didn't take calls during lunch. The boundaries weren't just for my sanity. They were a signal to clients that I was a professional with structure, not a freelancer who'd be available whenever they panicked. Clients respect the consultant who controls their calendar. They take advantage of the one who doesn't. Getting that first client without credentials. That's the part everyone thinks is impossible. It isn't. Here's what I actually did. I went back through 5 years of LinkedIn connections, looked for people running small businesses, and I wrote 12 personal messages. Not pitches, messages. Something like, "Hey, I know you've been building company for a few years. What's the hardest operational problem on your plate right now?" 4 people responded. One turned into a $2,400 project. That's it. No website, no portfolio, no testimonials. Just a real question to a real person who had a real problem. You don't need a funnel. You need one conversation that turns into a transaction. From there, it compounded. Priya referred me to a friend. That friend referred me to 2 more people. By month 7, I had more inbound interest than I could handle alone, which is when I started subcontracting pieces of the work. That's a whole other conversation. But the short version is, when demand exceeds your hours, you build a small team instead of turning people away. That's the moment a side hustle becomes something closer to a business. Now, the thing that blindsided me, and I don't want to blinds, Guide you. Taxes. When you're employed, taxes are invisible. You never see the money, so you never miss it. When you're earning side income, nobody's withholding anything. Year 1, I owed the IRS more than I expected. It wasn't catastrophic because I'd been careful, but I hadn't been careful enough. Set aside 30% of every payment immediately. Open a separate account just for that. Don't touch it. Treat it like it was never yours. And find a CPA who works with self-employed people. The deductions alone on things like home office, software, and professional development can change your effective rate significantly. That's not a loophole. That's just knowing the rules. There was a moment, about month 10, where I almost walked away from the whole thing. I'd had a difficult client, someone who kept expanding the scope without adjusting the budget. And I'd let it go on too long because I was afraid to lose the income. I ended the engagement. And for about 2 weeks, I convinced myself it had been a mistake, that the whole thing was fragile, and I'd been lucky. That fear is real. I want to name it because a lot of people hit that wall and don't come back. What got me through it was looking at the actual numbers. Not feelings. Numbers. I had 7 other clients. I had a track record. I had a referral network. The fear was lying to me. $50,000 in side income doesn't change everything. That's the honest version. It didn't give me a mansion or a sports car. What it gave me was options. Real, tangible options. I paid off a car loan. I rebuilt an emergency fund that had been sitting at zero for 2 years. I started contributing to an IRA again. And the thing that's harder to put a number on, I stopped making decisions from desperation. When you're not terrified of losing your job, you show up differently. You negotiate differently. You live differently. If you have a skill, any skill, and 4 hours a week, the infrastructure already exists. The clients are already out there. The only thing standing between where you are now and your first $5,000 in side income is the willingness to make 12 uncomfortable conversations happen. Start with the audit. Get specific. Price your work like you believe in it. Protect your time like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. The system isn't complicated. It just requires you to take it seriously before anyone else does.